Welcome to Protea Conversations. My name is Zane Stevens. I'm the founder of Protea Financial, and today with Ali. Welcome, Ali. Can
Hi, Zane.
you take a second to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Allie Preston. I'm based in the South African office and I am a manager.
Great. And we've had Ali on Protea Conversations before, but it was an interesting and special year this year where Ali celebrated 8 years of Protea. Congratulations on that. Um, well, congratulations to me, maybe for being able to keep you around for 8 years. So I thought we'd have you back on and just sort of catch up and sort of see how things are doing. How do you feel about being with Protea for 8 years?
Honestly, it doesn't feel like it's been 8 years, but yeah, I'm very proud to have been part of Protea for this amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's to think that we'll be turning 10 in what, 5 months' time, and you would have been with us for eight and a half of those 10 years is a pretty crazy thought.
Yeah, no, 100%. I remember when I finished my articles and I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and the audit partner at the time had mentioned Protea, and I couldn't imagine what it would become from our interview in a coffee shop to having an actual office in PE now. How the team has grown from, I think we were four of us back then to about 30 odd now. It's really been remarkable.
Yeah, I think it was 40 in the South African office, myself in the US office, and now we're 31 in South Africa and eight in the US. It's a significant different time and place than we were when we first started. Like you said, interview in a coffee shop, it probably felt really, really dodgy at the time.
Yeah, no, 100%. I still remember I mentioned to my husband, I'm going for this interview, and he says, "Hey, are you sure it's not a scam?" So I said, "Well, just the interview." And thankfully, I recognized you from being my tutorial leader at varsity. And yeah, got the laptop back of the car. I'm like, "Well, I have a laptop now, so it must be legit."
Yeah, I mean, that's also one of the things that's even crazy to think about that we go way, way back um, to university days. So, you know, I was your whatever they call it, tutor, tech leader, or whatever they wanted to give the
Yeah.
name to. It was interesting because it was a weird dynamic class that you had as well, and you were definitely one of the standout people in that class when it came to accounting. Most of them weren't really there because they wanted to be an accountant. It was just a class they had to take. Um, so you were one of my favorite, my touch students for sure at that time. Somebody that actually paid attention.
Yeah.
And I obviously I knew John as well at that, before then as well. So at least I was a recognizable name, even if you guys couldn't quite put your finger on where you knew me from at that time point of time.
Yeah.
If all of you guys know that Port Elizabeth is a pretty small town. So I tutored Ali. I'd worked a little bit under John at EY doing some back work, friends with her cousin. Like the town is for what is one of the biggest, like fifth or sixth biggest city in South Africa, it's still a small town environment. And you run into people that you know all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, you finished your articles, you mentioned that, but you obviously had a small little stop between before you joined us. Um, you sort of jumped over to EP cricket, right? Is that correct? Where you were for a
Yes,
little
I
short
was
period
there
of time?
for very, very short period of time. But I learned a lot there. Um, it's thrown in the deep end and had to think on my feet quite a bit
Hmm.
and sink or swim. And I swam for a bit, and yeah, and then the Protea opportunity came around, and I had my second one on the way, unbeknown to anyone. And the flexibility for me was a big standout point. So yeah.
Let's be honest, did you think when you first joined Protea that you'd still be with us 8 years later?
No, I thought maybe it was just when obviously the size of the company at the time, I thought maybe it was something that would go for a bit and then would possibly fizzle out, or you would find suitable people in the States to take over. And no, I didn't foresee that it would grow to what it was now.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I mean, imagine anybody joining, and you weren't one of the only people at that time to sort of take a risk with us, but it really was just
Yeah.
what must have felt like a hobby company at that point in time. But obviously having things happen in the background, hiring good people like yourself allowed us to be successful through what is now nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
So tell me about sort of your time with us, and it's been 8 years. You've been effectively part of the leadership team the whole time. You've been there, you've helped with hiring, you've been in there forming policies. What have you learned along the way, sort of just as being part of a team that took this from a small little company to something a little bit more, I wouldn't say big, but we're not small either.
Yeah. Ah, I think from the get-go, it is, communication, which is something obviously we push a lot. It's asking the questions. When we started off, there wasn't anything in place, seeing what will work, taking advice from other people. And I think with the hiring on that standpoint is trying to identify the right people who are going to fit in, who are going to be able to work remotely, because it's not everyone who is able to manage themselves. Um, yeah, I would say that's about it.
You've seen people come and go, and you sort of mentioned the people that can work remotely and those who can't work remotely. Is there anything that for you sticks out that is important skill set that somebody would need, or at least an attribute that they might need that would sort of show you that they'd be good at working by themselves?
Yeah, I think we definitely always try and ask if people have got hobbies outside of work. I think if someone tells us that they love to work and it's all they want to do, that's not what we're looking for. We want people to have a balanced lifestyle. We want people to enjoy their work. We want them to enjoy their lives outside of work. You know, give it your all and enjoy the flexibility. And so, I mean, I would say we definitely want people to have hobbies, good, healthy hobbies. We want to know that people have got a designated workspace that they can, switch off for the day, close the door, or if not, be able to put the laptop away. And I think it's good to, if we ask people what their biggest accomplishments are, I think the most of the time, the best answers have always been those where people have told us that they've been resilient in something and they've continued trying. I think for me that is important, especially being remote, where if someone isn't available to ask a question, those people can push through and try and get to some sort of answer.
The resiliency is always an important factor, and I mean, even now going into year end, we're reminding the team member about resiliency, right? It's so easy to forget about it, especially when things have been a little quieter before year end. It's sort of that silence before the storm situation. And sometimes you can quickly forget what resiliency is all about. And, part of resiliency is having those hobbies, having those things that you can take your mind away from work, relax, refresh. So we both have kids, so a lot of that relax and refresh is running around of there, which I'm not sure is relaxing or refreshing, but
Yeah,
at least keeps us separated from work every now and then.
yeah, yeah. It's dedicated. You cannot not take your eyes away from work. So
Yes, you mentioned obviously you had a second kid on the way. You have three now. You've got your
yeah,
own hobbies as well, right? You're sporting one on your top this evening. Um, you've obviously had some personal challenges along the way. You've moved cities since you've been with us. Just a lot of new and change in 8 years, other than sort of being around with us and all the new and change that we've had. But I'd like to know in the 8 years, what is the biggest lesson you've learned about yourself?
um, the biggest lesson I would say is I would I would say I'd always thought that I was good at adapting to change, and I think that I have learned it 100%, and I've proved it to myself. So I think it's a good lesson in life. I think the one thing that's always guaranteed is that nothing's going to stay the same. So the better you can adapt and get through change and look at it with a positive attitude, no matter what it is, how big or small, um, yeah, to tackle it head on and yeah, put a smile on your face and get through it.
Other than sort of being positive about a change and understanding that it's going to be, other than the mindset part of it, is there anything else somebody can do to better equip themselves to be ready for change?
I don't know. I think we've always got to look, we've got so much to be grateful for. I think, sometimes we overlook the small good things in life. I think people are always waiting for something big that has to be to make you happy. And it's just the small things that all add up that can sometimes outweigh something that's big. So it's just looking for the positive in every small thing that you have.
Yeah, I love that. You've been managing people, part of that leadership team for a long time now. What's one big thing you've learned about people in the last 8 years in the whole dynamic of managing people? What have you learned, and what's the best lesson for people that have to manage people that would help them along their way from your learnings?
I would say, I think listening to someone and trying to put yourself in their shoes. I know it's not always easy, but looking for that understanding as to what that person is going through and putting yourself as best as you can in their shoes. And yeah, and having faith in people and not giving up on people. Because I think everyone, if they put their mind to anything, they can accomplish it. It's just to show them that if you believe in them, they should believe in themselves as well.
Yeah, that's great. Trusting and believing in people make a big difference.
Yeah.
So 8 years or 8 and a bit years, do you have any memories, any things that stand out as special during that time that you maybe want to share with us? Reminisce a little bit on the past?
Oh goodness, I think there've been so many. Definitely a lot more laughs than you would expect in 8 years. A lot of learning. Um, I think our social and community teams do such a great job. It's very difficult to pinpoint one event that truly stands out. But I think our 5-year celebration that we had, that was really, really very special. Yeah, it's too many to count.
The 5 years one was nice, and started to sort of see what people have in mind for 10 years. Getting very close now. Starting to get the butterflies. Got to get there. Got to get there. Don't want to count those eggs too early, but I feel like we'll get there.
No, we'll get there.
Last question of the day. We obviously are, you know, outsourced accounting firm that works remotely. You know, what people want to call a digital accounting firm. Are we working in this digital world? For anybody that's entering this world or considering entering working in a remote environment, do you have any lessons for them to be successful?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think as I mentioned, have that separate workspace. Make sure that you've got a special place that's cornered off. And, we have Carbon, which helps us with our to-do list and getting it done. So definitely work from a to-do list, be able to prioritize and set your certain time aside each day for your work time. If you're going to take breaks, make sure you keeping track of it and know when to switch off, because it's not as if you leave in the office that you can just now switch off for the day. So learning to switch off is definitely a big one.
Yep, setting those boundaries is really, really important. So you don't lose
Yeah.
your mind or feel like you're never ending at a cycle of the hamster wheel that's just going round and round.
Yeah.
Ali, thank you for your time today, and thank you for the 8 years of service that you've given Protea. You've been obviously a big part of our success, and we really appreciate everything you did for us.
No, it's a pleasure. It's really been a great journey, and yeah, looking forward to many more years.
Thanks, Ali.